Welcome to the Rebel Rise podcast, a place where values-driven founders on a mission for more come to connect, learn, and grow. Here, we celebrate the relentless spirit of leaders building businesses that create real good for their clients, communities, and the world. No subject is off limits, and every episode is designed to bring you clear strategy, steady leadership, and people-first operations you can actually sustain. Get ready to grow ethically, lead well, and build something that works without burning you out. Your impact journey begins right here. Let's go. Today, I am joined on the podcast by one of my newest and absolute closest, most dearest friends. Joni Cesario is the founder of the Rebirth Files, a bi-weekly Substack newsletter at the forefront of a growing conversation about personal reinvention, emotional intelligence, and what it means to build technology that actually attunes to the very human using it. With 6 years of hands-on experience working with founders, online business owners, creative entrepreneurs, and even service-based businesses, she brings a really rare combination of strategic depth and emotional intelligence to everything that she builds. She's currently in the middle of her own reinvention, relocating to Silicon Valley to build conscious technology that's rooted in emotional attunement and genuine human connection. Okay, Joni, I am so excited to have you here. We have been trying to get this scheduled for what feels like forever now, but I want to just open up by saying welcome to Rebel Rise. It's been such a long time coming.
It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And you're right, we have been trying to get on this interview for quite some time, but in the process of doing so, I feel like both me and you have grown immensely. And so I love how we're meeting today in this season, and we can go off from there.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And I know you and I had a lot of time yesterday to chat and to connect, and we had such a good conversation. So I'm excited to see what unfolds here in a format in which we can share with others. But I want to start with the Rebirth Files, because that is your current love baby or love child, whatever you want to call it, that you are currently sharing with your people. So let's start by having you share with everybody how you arrived to the Rebirth Files, and then we'll go from there.
I just want to take a side note. I'm the Rebirth Files feels very forensic. Now that you're saying it, and in light of your natural zone of genius in that, I find that so funny. I'm like, oh wow, that sounds like okay. Not Forensic Files. The Rebirth Files is obviously you're new here. That is a place where I really start breaking down this unshedding of identities and being able to be in this in between, which I feel like a lot of your audience can relate to who's listening right now, where I think a lot of the collective is going through this mid shift of who they were and versus who they want to become, or that identity lapse of where am I supposed to be. So I created the Rebirth Files in my own season of doing so. I have been an entrepreneur for over 6 years and found myself falling out of love with what I was doing. I love marketing and branding, but it's not what lit my soul on fire anymore. It's just what I'm good at. And so I kind of started pondering this question of, how can I make an impact in this world? And that kind of led me down the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, which then the catalyst of the Rebirth Files. So I had my own, and still going through my own shift in life and identity. And I really wanted to bring that rawness and vulnerability to everybody to, honestly, it's terrifying because it's out there in public. I write on Substack really raw newsletters of just kind of dissecting my past relationships, heartbreaks, identities that I thought that were mine that are no longer are, and being really honest with the fact that I don't know where I'm going, but I know my next step, and giving the collective permission to kind of step into this unknown, and like, it's okay. Like, we don't have to have it all figured out for the next 5 years, but like being honest with like, if this next step feels really deeply aligned, then do that. So that's like the nutshell of the Rebirth Files.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful. And I've obviously known you since you were an entrepreneur. And that was how we met years ago. I went to one of your events. And so I've been able to see this evolution. And through the process, we've become very close friends. And so I've enjoyed watching it. And what I want to have you share now is, because I think as people are listening to this, right now, maybe they can't really see that for themselves. Like, I would never get that vulnerable because the things you share are deeply personal, deeply vulnerable. And we are in a place where we're craving more of that, right? We want more authenticity. We want to feel like we know people on a deeper level as all of this technology keeps emerging and advancing around us, right? So what was the ego death like that you had to go through as you realized you had to admit to yourself at some point, right? I'm not in alignment with what I'm doing for business. I'm simply good at it. And to allow yourself to walk away from that identity in order to give birth to the Rebirth Files and into what you're focusing on now.
That was and still is such a hard, like, you're just saying that and I'm like getting like choked up because I'm like, the identity of like the marketer, the business, like entrepreneur, like has been wrapped. I would say like that has always been like my shell, like the shell of the person. Oh, that sounds bad, but like the shell of the person that I am.
Yeah.
But to release that has been so, I think that, I'm sure you can relate, you've seen online, like entrepreneurship is quite literally the biggest test of personal development. Like that will bring you down. Like, it's not for the faint of heart, and it will bring you down this rabbit hole of deeper alignment, and even it reflects your personal life. So being able to like let that down was really hard because I felt like I was like this little unprotected being in like the world and like so vulnerable. But I found that the more vulnerability I shared, the more like the response that I received was so profound. And that was really kind of that tipping point of like, okay, I should keep doing this. So just this little, like, my toe was in the water. I was a little bit vulnerable. I was like, maybe it's okay not to be the marketer. Like, maybe it's not okay, or maybe it's okay to like not be this entrepreneur. I always will have this entrepreneurial spirit within me. Like, it's, you can talk to me about business, you can talk to me about anything. My brain goes to strategy, and I do that in all areas of my life, that it's like, I'm not saying no to that. Like, that's just how my brain works. And I think that's my good, like a skill set I can use. But like alchemy, how can I use that in a different capacity? So it's been a dance. I'm not on the other side of it. But to your question of letting go of this identity, it really came down to me putting myself out into, like, at the end of the day, what do I want to leave? Like, how do I want to leave this world? And like, how do I really deeply want to impact people? And not some bullshit of, oh, can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Not some bullshit of like, oh, I want to make an impact. No, like, I love, like, I have so much faith for humanity. I think everybody on the collective scale, people are innately good. And I really deeply like care and want to like hold my hands out to the people I know and help people come to another side. And like my goal really came down to, I just want to help shift like the collective positivity by like a degree. And so that kind of like broke and shattered my entire world when I thought about that. So that really was the catalyst to I closed my business. I then had this download of something in technology that I wanted to build. And I started researching startups because I'm like, okay, here's my solution. How do I want to help? How can I keep making this world a better place? And it came down to like people, like my love for people. And so my little ego of marketer was like, get in the back seat, girlfriend. You've gotten us here, but like also we're going to need you, but you can't drive anymore. So
Yeah, I love that. So basically, what you're saying is you didn't have to abandon that identity altogether. There is still a use for that version of her. She's just no longer the one that's in control, and you were able to step into a new identity that you're assigning for yourself.
absolutely. Yes. And I think like in this is really powerful when we talk about shedding identities and, layers of us. And I think that from my experience, just my personal experience within therapy, it's been really interesting to see like different parts within you. Like there is a process within therapy where it's like you want to acknowledge these parts that have gotten you up to this part, like this point in time, and like to thank them, but also acknowledge that like they can't either come forward with you or they have to kind of take a step back. And for me to become this strategist, marketer, it's gotten me really far. Like I have built multiple businesses, I've helped a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's been so beautiful to see. And I don't want to shun her from coming with me, but I also don't want to hyper like identify with that any longer. I want to be able to create this open future, open path that I can move about it as I please without getting so locked in and is like I have to be like this. And it's given me a lot of like space and permission to like evolve to whoever the hell I want to be. And it's been really beautiful.
Yeah, and it's been beautiful to watch. And what I want to really highlight and drive home for everybody listening is that the key here is that you're not letting go of who you are and who you have been. You're simply allowing yourself to step away from something that you know is no longer in alignment, something that you don't truly enjoy. And it doesn't mean you couldn't go back to that if you changed your mind. If what your focus is now doesn't work out and you're like, you know what, I really miss marketing, you could go back to that in a moment, because at the end of the day, those titles, they don't define us. They don't define who they are. And I love that. I love seeing it in the entrepreneurship space. You see it a lot in the spiritual space, and spiritual entrepreneurship is a whole nother thing. But being able to drop that ego out of it, and it's not even because it wasn't working. It just was simply you being open and willing to step away from that to create a new experience for yourself. And I firmly believe that all of us can do that.
Absolutely. I want to highlight that is that we get so locked in to these identities that they eventually become prisons. And I've been there, done that, probably continue to go down that rabbit hole. Hopefully I can catch it really quickly, but we don't realize that we are our worst enemies of doing so. And I think that the more, something like me and the Rebirth Files of coming out and just being really honest with where I'm at, the more that we can really be honest with where we are in life, I really, really believe that gives everyone this permission to do the same within their life. Because without stripping all these titles, you really start having that conversation of like, who am I? And at the end of the day, it's like, it's your soul. Like that is the most powerful, beautiful thing when you're so connected to that, and you can create absolute magic with it and do whatever you want. It's when we create these really harsh boundaries and want to stay within it that it becomes this prison.
Yeah. And I think many of us are, the type A type personalities, right? Who are like, okay, we have to be successful, the overachiever. This all has to work out. It's got to be perfect. And if not, I'm an absolute failure. And that's just not not the case at all. So like you said, it is literally like being in a prison. And this is the whole reason I started this podcast and why I labeled it Rebel Rise, right? Because it is about us learning to effectively break the molds of the things that we've been taught we have to do, the way we think we have to function, the way we view expectation from other people. Because at the end of the day, this is the type of thing that people want to see. We actually are rooting heavier for the people who are forging their own path than we are for the people who live in that vanilla cookie cutter kind of life.
Oh my gosh, yes. And there is this renaissance of like things that can be created, especially right now. There's
Yeah.
so many opportunities when it's like you don't have to go that cookie cutter way. You really can create. And again, if you have a little bit of marketing, you can market anything to be effective and needed in any market. You really can. With the right marketing, it's great. So like understand that, and it's like you can produce whatever service or offer whatever product. And as long as I really feel that the person or company putting it out there, as long as they're really rooted in their mission and they are passionate about it, then it will be felt through the consumer side. It'll be felt online. And I think that once we can start, producing things that are deeply aligned to who we are, it's a beautiful flow. And it gives everybody more permission to live in that and collectively shifting a little bit more into a positive world, which we all want.
Yes, love that. We love the idea of a whole conscious shift, right, into more positive things. So, you are not just working on the Rebirth Files. That is your current focus, your main focus. But selfishly, I'm very sad because you are leaving Arizona and you are moving to Silicon Valley to pursue what will be your next big move. And that is all focused around conscious technology. So, talk about that, what that even means, and how you arrived there.
The most beautiful way I could describe this, because it made no sense to me, is that once I really surrendered, I would say that this grand idea unfolded that, and high level, what it is to help people understand their inner world and their emotions while also building emotional resilience. Because I looked at a lot of the things that were going on in my life, in the past, in my upbringing, and there is like this centralized theme. And so really, I'm building something that I know could have helped me, my friends and peers when I was growing up. And there was a gap. And that was this profound, like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to build. So I started doing this research. I'm like, is this a thing? Like, I don't know. Clearly right now it's still in the ideation phase. So like I'm being vague about a lot of things just because but with doing so, it felt like within my entire body, like a hell yes. And then from there on, it was really interesting just to notice like everything within my life, relationships, future goals, they started shifting because I started reorienting myself to this vision. And it's a very, very long-term vision. But for me, that meant maybe I don't live in Arizona, which was terrifying because I love Arizona. I've been here for over 10 years. And like, truthfully, I don't want to leave, but I know I have to leave. And the best way for me was to go to the capital of technology and do what I do best, which is to make as many connections as I can, to grow my network, which is a completely different type of like network than I would ever have access to here in Scottsdale, and to meet the right team and formulate the right players that I could create this project. Because everyone there is like, they breathe, it's like technology and this innovation that's there. So what better way than to go to Silicon Valley? So that's really what was the push, this idea. And then in doing so, everything followed suit of, okay, well, that means I have to sell my property. I have to sell everything, start completely clean. And like, as scary as that is, because it's very scary, it feels like I've been so divinely supported in all of it. Like every door that is directed towards this has been opened. And it's been interesting to see how all the other resistance for everything else, where I'm like, I want to stay in my comfort zone over here. And it's like, the universe is like, absolutely not. Close the door, close the door. Nope. So like anytime I'm like, okay, what about Silicon Valley? And it's like, yes, come through. So I'm noticing like the very contrast of, okay, this is deeply aligned and this is clearly a no in my life. And the more I'm practicing that, the more I'm trusting myself in doing so. And that's really what's been leading me there. Once I get there, like there's so many pieces to it, but I think me being able to bet on myself throughout this entire process has been such a love story of itself, because it's something that I've never done. And I know that I need to do it, and I need to full send go. And wherever I go and however this unfolds is going to be at the right timing, and it's going to be so divinely supported that, yeah, I know there's no option. This will not fail.
Yeah, 100%. And I love everything you're sharing. And even the fact that your first part of this answer was that you're intentionally being vague because you really don't know 100% where this is going yet. And there's so much beauty in that, because we need so much certainty in everything that we do. We need security. We all value the certainty and answers and needing to know, is this going to work out? And I am a victim of that as well. And so and I've shared this with you, but what I've admired in this journey altogether is, I know you were already working on this, but 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago now, November.
Yeah.
So what is it? Maybe 7 months ago, you were on almost a totally different path, right? And then one small thing happened, and now you're on this path where you feel so much more aligned. Like you light up when you talk about these things. And so I've already shared with you, but to say it here with everybody, I feel like what you're doing is so admirable and so brave. And I really believe that you are going to be paving the way for other people, like people you don't even know yet who are listening to this podcast right now, thinking to themselves, like, I wish I could do something like this. And maybe I have something on my heart, or maybe I can't step away from my identity yet. And I don't know how to do it. And listening to you being able to find ways through, therapy and other modalities that have allowed you to just simply listen and trust in a world that is telling you to always speed up and punch in and punch out, I think is just going to be so helpful, more helpful than you even realize right now.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And I should really be clear, as you hear me as this, like there's so much life and excitement in my voice, but that's what you see. And in the back end too, it's like, this has also been more days of really lows of like mourning, sadness, so much fear. I've created this life here in Arizona that has been safe. And it was intentionally, I've created it to be safe, so that no one can remove or disrupt my safety ever again. Obviously, it's a trauma response. Mm-hmm. So for me to do this move has been terrifying. But I've looked at all of like these potentials of like, okay, so if this happens, can I get through it? Absolutely. And can I get through this? Yes. Like I have proof. I've done this. So I think that it was a little bit hard for me, because now I'm like, I want to build technology. Like, what? And entrepreneurship is not founder. It's not startup. They have like they overlap with each other, but like that's a completely different language. So it's something that I have to really get comfortable with. And eventually, like, I'm going to have to raise capital, which is a lot of money, and it's a whole lot of no's. more no's than it will be yes. And a lot of people will close the door in my face. So this entire process has been really challenging because it's like, it's setting me up to succeed so that when I do get a no, I'll be like, it's okay. It's a redirection, or it's just not the most aligned capital. That's okay. So again, going back to what we started with is like this entrepreneurial journey is literally a personal development journey. And I really want to encourage whoever is listening to, if there's something on your heart, like you are not locked into it. Like you have the ability to keep moving and shifting or just questioning, like what else is out there? Like I never thought I would be doing this. God, no. Are you kidding me? It's been scary, but I think that we can all agree if it's a side business we have or we're servicing people is we have our clients and customers' best interest in mind. And I think I would say biasy, entrepreneurs are really trying to help the world. So if there's something pressed on your heart, like go with that. Like that is truly, I think it's one of the most beautiful things you can receive in entrepreneurship.
It is. And since you brought it up, if you're comfortable going in deeper on this, I would love to have you get a little bit vulnerable and talk about those low moments, those moments that are scary, because I feel like that is going to be super relatable to somebody who is listening and wanting to make these moves or is feeling that pull to do something different, but they feel like, okay, it might be super easy for Joni. It's super easy for Vanessa to say, but I could never. So what has that journey been like for you?
Well, the one thing that is standing out that we have not said here is me having to write a resume and submit an application for a job.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the most, now let me backtrack before I go and like to answer that. The reason for that was I am uprooting my entire life, moving somewhere I don't know anything about it. And for me, I can't operate when my entire nervous system is like fluctuating. So the one thing for me is like, okay, get a job, get a bridge job, land in Silicon Valley. And from there, you can then see, you can go out, you can meet people, you can do all these things while in the background continue to service this idea daily. And then eventually, whatever that looks like, maybe it's a couple months, maybe it's a year, I don't know. But then I can put that as the 100%. But in this bridge, I need something to support me because I have all the factors in my life that are like, it's unknown. And I can't operate when like my entire world is unknown. So for me, that was really hard because immediately I was like, I don't know how to write a resume. I don't know how to interview. I don't know what I'm good at because you're an entrepreneur. You're good at a lot of things. So like, how am I supposed to like curate what I'm good at for this job position? Like, where do I find jobs? And I felt like a failure. I felt like an absolute failure because I'm like, here I am. I have had multiple businesses. I have preached about, entrepreneurial world and business and marketing. And here I am. Here's my resume. Like it was really embarrassing, honestly. And I clearly don't feel that way now. I feel more confident when I'm like, yeah, I'm getting a job. Who cares? Like, it's going to help me. It's fine. Like, okay. I know that the big vision will never be hidden. Like this is to support that. And anything I have to do will be to support my vision. But that's been really, really hard. And another thing would be that I feel that my independence will be lost by moving because I'm selling my property. I'm going to need that, like the capital to help me in this transition as well. So that was another strategic move. So I'm like, well, great. All of these things I've worked towards, I'm young. Like I've bought properties. I've done all these things. And here I am applying for a job and I'm selling my property and I'm going to be renting. Like, it's it felt really hard for me, and it felt like this shatter of my world because I've rided on so many accolades and what I thought was success metrics. And here I am kind of just like Benjamin buttoning my life. So that's been really challenging for me. And I hope that whoever's listening can relate to that, because I think that's like a really, really honest take of this transition itself is this piece and closing my business because it was out of alignment. I don't want to divert my focus and attention that I lose track of where I'm going for this like short-term reward. Of course, I can do short-term projects and contract work. I don't want to get scrappy with my time and my energy. I want to put it into something that I can leave at the end of the day and still have a fulfilled life, and then come back to it on Monday and I'm back. I'm also saving money for the startup too. So yeah, to answer your question.
And I appreciate that. And it's such a great, honest share. And this is something we were talking about yesterday too, is this is the piece of not even just entrepreneurship, but this is the piece that people don't talk about. People are not online talking about their fears and their failures. Some people are starting to, but they're not talking about the reality, right? We talk about burning the bridge and how it's not necessary. I'm even building with the support of a job. And to have that, it relieves so much stress from my life, to have that extra support versus having to lose sleep and be stressed about how I'm going to eat, how I'm going to pay my bills, for anybody else support their family. And so I love that that's how you chose to answer that question, because those things are huge. And to be honest and vulnerable and to show other people again that it's okay and you can be scrappy, you can be messy, and as long as it's something that you believe in and it's on your heart to deliver to people, it's going to work out as long as you don't stop.
Oh, amen to that. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So, what is you may have touched on this a little bit, but what is your big vision for yourself?
For myself or for this, or
both? Let's do both. And what you want to bring to this world.
Girl, I want this to be as global as possible. I want my vision, I want to consider every country, every age range, create this interface of feeling, and really to help shift this stigma with, oh, it's emotional. I'm a Cancer, by the way. So like, I feel like my entire life has been like, oh, she's a Cancer, she's emotional. I want people to be able to feel so deeply and understand who they are on a global scale. I want this interface to be so accessible to everyone, because the older I get, the more I realize like we don't know. We get into these relationships and maybe we lack relationships. Maybe we don't have friendships. Maybe, it's very weird. Humans are very odd. But I want us to have the most healthiest relationships. And I really believe that starts within us. And it's very awkward and uncomfortable to start that. So I want this to be at a grand scale accessible to the world. And I want this piece of knowing who we are deeper to be in every culture, every society, every age range, so that we are all building emotional resilience and having the most beautiful, healthiest relationships we possibly can.
I love it. And I can't wait to have you back on this podcast soon once you can share more about what you're working on. So for everybody listening, there will definitely be a part 2. I'm committing you to that, a part 2 down the road, and we can talk more about what this thing looks like. But in the meantime, how can people get in touch with you or follow along in this journey? Because you have not yet moved. And so you're very much still in this open transition phase. So if they want to follow you truly from square one and maybe read the Rebirth Files, how would they reach you?
Go to the rebirthfiles.com. That's the first start. And then from there, I am being as open and unscripted as I possibly can on Instagram. So follow that. Like, I try to make it very, like we're having this conversation, so normal and accessible, and like, hey, I really don't know, follow me. Like that's I'm trying to create a community there. So that would be my best bet, is to Substack and Instagram.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And we'll make sure that is in the show notes, of course. Thank you so much for joining us, Joni. I'm so happy we finally got to do this so that we can share a little piece of you and what you're going through right now with the world, because I know it's going to impact people in such a strong way. And I cannot wait to have you back for our part 2.
Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Rebel Rise podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and invite your friends to join us next week. This is your time. Now get out there and rise.